was helping. Then one day, she's once again on the internet trying to find any possible cause for this pain that she's in.
And, way down on the Google search pages.
And she finds this Facebook group that is made up of people who are suffering from a condition called cannabinoid hyperemesis syndrome, known as CHS. We're talking about really severe nausea, severe vomiting, cycles of severe vomiting, in which people are in so much pain that they actually use the term scromiting because they're often screaming out in pain. It's so awful.
Oh my God.
Yes. And this is a relatively new syndrome. It was first identified in 2004. And basically its rise, completely tracks with the rise in legalization and commercialization and the change in these products. And it's still quite a mystery. But hot water often relieves symptoms. So people who develop the syndrome will often spend hour after hour in really, really hot baths or showers, sometimes to the point where they burn themselves. It can lead to extreme dehydration, seizures, kidney failure, and even cardiac arrest. We found 8 deaths linked to CHS.
Wow. How common is this syndrome?
It's hard to say with certainty. Even 20 years after it was first identified, there's not a single diagnostic code for it. So there's no uniform tracking of it in the medical system. But what we heard from our interviews and surveys of doctors is that they're seeing more and more of it in emergency departments. They see it every week, if not every day. And there are also researchers who have estimated that as many as 30% of heavy users, regular users of marijuana, are experiencing some symptoms of the syndrome. So that would mean an estimated 6 million people.
And Jennifer is one of those people, correct? What happened to her?
So after finding the Facebook group and realizing what's going on, she decides to quit marijuana on the spot. And that leads to a period of withdrawal that lasts for about 2 months. And after that, she's been totally fine. And during this period of withdrawal, she sees yet another specialist who confirms that she did indeed have CHS and actually told Jennifer that she was seeing multiple cases of the syndrome every week.
What else did you find?
So another significant harm that we identified is marijuana causing a temporary psychotic episode or symptoms, paranoia, hallucinations. And that can happen to all different kinds of people of different ages, chronic users of marijuana or first-time users of marijuana, people who are otherwise at risk for experiencing psychosis or have no other risk factors at all. And one of the people that I spoke to who had experienced this is a man named Javante Hill, who lives in Colorado and tried marijuana at the suggestion of his girlfriend. He was a recent Navy veteran with PTSD, anxiety, and depression, and his girlfriend was an occasional marijuana user and told him that it could be a nice way to chill out.
And it was honestly to wean off, go from alcohol to this one, because the media around weed was that is a much safer alternative.
So one night, and this was just his second time using it, he took a bong hit.
And then literally after 10 minutes, I started to have almost severe paranoia.
And ended up totally paranoid and hallucinating.
Slowly, surely, as the night went on, I completely lost all touch with reality, and I replayed a lot of my time in Afghanistan, and it's almost like all my worst fears came to the forefront.
His girlfriend, Eva Zamora, who I also spoke with, was there trying to comfort him, but he didn't recognize her.
Wow.
And in the midst of this, their dog started fighting.
And then he had gone upstairs and he came downstairs and he had the gun in his hand that we had upstairs in our room. And
And he ended up getting his gun and shooting and killing one of the dogs,
Ugh.
and actually shooting and injuring his girlfriend, Eva. He had no idea that this was a risk or even a possibility when he tried that marijuana. He had no history of psychosis. He had no history of domestic violence. After the incident, he was diagnosed with drug-induced hallucinations, and he ended up pleading guilty to animal cruelty and assault charges. And he's actually suing the dispensary chain, claiming it failed to warn him about the risk of psychosis. And in our interviews and in our surveys of doctors, they said that they were seeing more and more patients with those kind of experiences.
Wow. And you said that that kind of psychosis was temporary, but are there any other longer term mental health implications?
So, marijuana can affect brain development, particularly during the critical period of adolescence, which actually goes up through age 25. And there's growing evidence that marijuana use can contribute to the development of psychotic disorders. Recent studies show that the more potent the cannabis, the more frequent the use, and the earlier the age of consuming, the greater the risk. And to be clear, this isn't like a clear-cut black and white cause and effect relationship between marijuana and chronic psychotic disorders. Listen, our public understanding of this drug hasn't kept pace with the transformation of it. And I want to be very clear about what else we found in our reporting, which is that the majority of the doctors that we talk to support the legalization of marijuana. But what we heard time and again is that the way that legalization and commercialization is playing out in this country is flawed. That consumers have a right to know about the associations with psychosis. They have a right to know about the risk of this becoming addictive. They have the right to know about CHS. There needs to be better oversight, there needs to be better protections, and there needs to be better information.
Megan, thank you very much.
Thanks for having me.
Megan Toohey is an investigative reporter for the New York Times.
The Daily is supported by Michigan Technological University, home to the new HSTEM complex, a state-of-the-art teaching and research facility for STEM studies in health-related fields from neuroscience to nursing. Online at mtu.edu. And by BetterHelp, committed to supporting mental health through therapy. Clients are matched with one of 35,000 therapists and can communicate via video, chat, or phone. At BetterHelp.
Welcome to our evening meeting for October 22nd, 2024. The board held its regular afternoon session at 3 p.m. today, followed by closed session. Item L, certification resolution. In the closed session just concluded, nothing was discussed except the matters which were identified in the motion to convene in closed session. Only those matters lawfully permitted to be discussed under the Virginia Freedom of Information Act were discussed. Is there a motion to adopt the certification resolution?
Motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Would the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Radford?
Yes.
Mrs. Hooker?
Yes.
Mrs. Shepherd?
Yes.
Mr. North?
Yes. Item M, second reading of ordinance and public hearing. Item 1, the petition of Dale Wilkinson to rezone approximately 21.39 acres of land zoned I-1 Low Intensity Industrial District to R3 Medium Density Multifamily Residential District in order to develop a 225 lot residential subdivision located at 7812 Sanderson Drive, Holland's Magisterial District. Chair recognizes Megan Cronice, Assistant Director of Planning, for the second reading and public hearing. Megan.
Good evening, Chairman and members of the board. I'm standing in for Philip Thompson this evening, and we'll be reviewing the presentation with you once we have the presentation up. Thank you, Ms. Rhonda. Okay. What you see here is a location map indicating where the property is located in the northern part of the county, adjacent to Botetourt County, between Reed Mountain and Route 11 Williamson Road. The property's addresses are 7812 Sanderson Drive and 0 Sanderson Drive. The combined parcels measure 21.39 acres. The current use is agriculture, and the request is to rezone from I-1 Low Intensity Industrial District to R3 Medium Density Multifamily Residential District for a 161 lot residential subdivision. Approximately 513 letters were mailed to adjoining property owners and tenants containing information about the request in the community meeting prior to the September 3rd, 2024 Planning Commission public hearing. A community meeting was held on Monday, August 5th at Holland's Library from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. with 88 citizens in attendance. We had 22 submitted written comments from that meeting, and the main concerns included traffic and density of development. One additional written comment was submitted prior to the public hearing, and the Planning Commission held their public hearing on September 3rd, 2024. The Planning Commission voted to continue the public hearing until October 1st, 2024. Another 513 letters were mailed out to adjoining property owners and tenants containing information about the continuation of the public hearing and contain the revised concept plan. 3 additional written comments were submitted. All were in opposition to the petition and addressed the preference for R1 zoning instead of R3 zoning, addressed traffic concerns and the need for single-family homes instead of townhomes. Here are photographs of the subject property. This is the driveway into the property. It's the southern driveway into the property and the single-family detached residence on the property. Here's another view of the single-family detached residence and the farm field. The photo on the left shows the northernmost area of the parcel, and the photo on the right shows the private drive onto the property that leads past the residential dwelling and several accessory buildings. The photo on the left shows the continuation of the private drive towards the eastern property line where Stonegate Phase 3 will be, and the photo on the right shows the southeastern portion of the property from the private drive. These photos show the southern parcel with a greater concentration of vegetation towards the center. The property currently contains a single-family dwelling, as we saw in the photos, and multiple accessory structures of varying sizes for the farm. Roanoke County tax assessment records estimate the residence was built around 1920, and the property has historically been used for agricultural activity. The Roanoke County zoning ordinance defines a single-family dwelling as a site-built or modular building designed for or used exclusively as one dwelling unit for permanent occupancy. Single-family dwellings are permitted by right in the R3 medium-density multifamily residential district, which the applicant's requesting. The Roanoke County zoning ordinance defines a townhouse as a grouping of 3 or more attached single-family dwellings in a row in which each unit has its own front and rear access to the outside. No unit is located over another unit, and each unit is separated from any other unit by one or more common walls. Townhouses are also permitted by right in the R3 district, which is the request. All development and use of the property would be in conformance with Section 30-45, which is the R3 development standards of the Roanoke County zoning ordinance. A comprehensive site plan and building plan reviews would be required before any construction can take place after this rezoning action. A type A buffer would be required at the southern, eastern, and western property lines, which all adjoin property zoned R1, low-density residential district. There's two different options for type A buffers that are shown here. Option 1 is wider without a fence. Option 2 is narrower with a fence. And when possible, existing vegetation can be used to meet buffer requirements with approval from the zoning administrator. The need for a buffer at the northern property line against Botetourt County will be determined at the site plan review process. This is the original concept plan that was submitted with the application and was shown at the community meeting. This concept plan shows a 225-lot residential subdivision with 176 lots located in Roanoke County. This is 141 townhouses and 35 single-family detached dwellings. This concept plan is no longer being used. An updated concept plan was given to staff prior to the Planning Commission public hearing. This concept plan shows 161 lots, of which 147 would be located in Roanoke County and 14 would be located in Botetourt County. 30 single-family detached dwellings bordering the subdivision and 117 townhouses are towards the center. The concept plan also shows one entrance in Roanoke County and one entrance in Botetourt County. This is the final revised concept plan that was submitted September 24th. This concept plan shows 161 lots. Again, 147 would be located in Roanoke County and 14 in Botetourt County. 30 single-family detached dwellings bordering the subdivision and 117 townhouses toward the center. The concept plan shows two entrances in Roanoke County and one in Botetourt County. The main difference with this concept plan is that lots 23, 24, and 25, which are in the southeast corner, have been adjusted to allow for the addition of a road connector from the internal roads of the subdivision to Stonegate Phase 3. This concept plan also shows the right-of-way dedication that would be necessary for the construction of the conceptual left turn lane along Sanderson Drive. These elevations were shown at the community meeting and showed townhouses. These elevations show examples of single-family detached dwellings. The applicant has offered to proffer general conformance with these conceptual renderings, as well as the final revised concept plan that we just reviewed. The traffic impact analysis was conducted and submitted with the application. The results of the traffic impact analysis indicate that while the project results in minor increases in delay at the study intersections, the anticipated maximum queues will be accommodated and are not expected to spill back into adjacent intersections. The TIA was concurred with by the Virginia Department of Transportation. The main area of concern was the southbound approach of Shadwell Drive and Sanderson Drive. The TIA was conducted based upon road improvements that have not yet been funded, and it was also based upon the original submission of 225 lots. The existing zoning to the north, Botetourt County is zoned to A1 agricultural and residential uses. To the east is R1 low-density residential district in yellow. To the south is R1 and R1 with conditions shown in yellow, as well as I1 with a special use permit across Shadwell Drive. And to the west is R1 shown in yellow. The future land use designation is principal industrial, and these are areas where a future land use should have a variety of industry types. Let me start that over. A future land use area where a variety of industry types are encouraged to locate. Existing and planned regional employment centers distributed throughout the county, convenient to major residential areas, and suitable highway access. And the proposed rezoning is not consistent with the principal industrial future land use designation. The public hearing held with the Planning Commission on September 3rd, 2024 included 5 citizens speaking in opposition during the public hearing. Their issues and concerns included density of development, traffic generated from proposed development and other developments in the vicinity, the need for amenities to handle additional housing, preference for single-family homes over townhouses, and transportation improvements needed to handle new development. The Planning Commission discussed the unfunded transportation improvement, the traffic study, proposed dedicated right-of-way along the applicant's frontage on Sanderson Drive, a new road under construction in Stonegate Phase 3, lack of proffered conditions associated with this application, the need for housing, the types of homes being proposed and home prices, surrounding residential development, breaking up the 10-unit townhouse sections into smaller sections of 5 to 6 townhouses, inconsistency with the principal industrial future land use designation, and a potential connector road from proposed development to Stonegate Phase 3. The Planning Commission voted to continue this public hearing until its October 1, 2024 meeting. At that meeting on October 1st, 7 citizens spoke during the public hearing. Their issues and concerns included increased traffic, number of apartments being built in the area, funding for the left turn lane, new subdivisions adding to current traffic issues, railroad creating challenges to any road improvement, inconsistency with future land use designation, and lack of green space within the development. The Planning Commission discussed the proposed right-of-way dedication along the proposed development, the reduction in the number of lots from 225 to 161, with 147 being in Roanoke County, proposed connector road to Stonegate Phase 3, the traffic study, delay times at the Sanderson Drive and Shadwell Drive intersection, new entrances for proposed development needing to meet VDOT site distance requirements, the number of notices sent to surrounding property owners, future land use, surrounding residential development. Sanderson Drive, Shadwell Drive is one of the intersections being studied as part of the Safe Streets and Roads for All study, a limited amount of industrial land available in the county, and the need for new housing. The Planning Commission recommends approval of the rezoning with 4 proper conditions, which are: number 1, the property shall be developed in general conformance with the concept plan showing a maximum of 147 lots entitled Beam Property, Botetourt County, VA, rezoning concept, prepared by Engineering Concepts Incorporated, dated 9/24/24, subject to any changes required during the comprehensive site plan review process. Number 2, the residential dwelling unit shall be constructed in general conformance to the elevation examples for townhomes and detached homes provided by the applicant as part of the rezoning application titled Townhome Example Elevations, dated 9/24/24. Number 3, a road shall be constructed to connect to the road and public right-of-way in Stonegate Phase 3 as shown on the concept entitled Beam Property, Botetourt County, VA, rezoning concept, prepared by Engineering Concepts Incorporated, dated 9/24/24. Construction of this road shall begin upon the issuance of the 110th building permit for the lots in the development. Number 4, right-of-way along Sanderson Drive shall be dedicated to the Roanoke County Board of Supervisors as shown on the concept plan entitled Sanderson Drive and Shadwell Drive left turn lane, prepared by Roanoke County Department of Planning, dated 7/9/24, for intersection improvements at Sanderson Drive and Shadwell Drive. The right-of-way dedication shall take place upon execution of the subdivision plat. With that, I'll be happy to answer any questions. The applicant is also here and can answer questions. Ashley Matheny is also here from the Salem Residency of VDOT, and she can answer questions as well.
Yeah. We got questions, folks? Okay.
Yeah, I got specific questions for Megan. Megan called you and talked to you the other day. I'm going to ask you some of the same questions, sorry.
Right.
So rezoned R3, did you determine these got to be public streets versus private?
It is my understanding that they will be public streets, yes, dedicated to VDOT.
Okay, so the connector into Stonegate 3, you told me, I think, that is in development review right now?
No, this is, after the rezoning is approved, then there will be a site plan package that will be submitted that will have far more details than the concept plan.
Okay.
So then we'll have more details to be able to review.
Okay, I guess I'm when I see the connector road going into another high-density project, which it look like patio homes, connector road, and, you know, I was telling you the other day, the connector road looks wider than the
That's right here.
than the road that's going to go in there for Phase 3. Maybe the petitioner and the engineer can answer that later.
Yep.
I think that's all I have, Mr. Chair,
Okay.
right now.
Ms. Hooker.
I was just going to ask a quick question, Megan, and it was regarding how the traffic count compares with the current zoning and the proposed zoning of R3. And if you could just give us an example of an industrial zoning. And obviously, this is somewhat arbitrary because it's not being proposed for industrial at this time. It's by right industrial. And there are different impacts with different types of industry. But looking at one that may be a good comparison for this type of lot. And I would just like to hear if it's a similar traffic impact, if it's more with residential or more with industrial. I understand that R3 is actually less traffic impact than single family.
So for the types of dwellings that are proposed, single-family detached typically has the largest residential traffic volume, and I believe it's about 10 trips a day. Townhouses generate fewer trips a day, because typically there's less people living in a
Correct.
townhouse. And then it goes from there when you continue to shrink the dwelling size. So there are a number of uses allowed in the I-1 district, and the board has expanded some of those uses with some of the zoning ordinance amendments over the last 10 to 15 years. So there's a number of commercial uses that are also allowed by right as well. So for a typical industrial use in the I-1 district, we do allow custom manufacturing, industry type 1, a rubble landfill, recycling centers and stations, transportation terminal, truck terminal, warehousing and distribution. I think warehousing and distribution would probably be a use that may work on this site fairly well because it's flat. We have we don't have flat land in Roanoke County typically. So to build a warehouse, you need a flat parcel. So that could be a potential use. I think it depends upon the size of that facility, how many trucks are coming and going a day. So it would definitely be a different kind of traffic with likely different peaks during the day of when the traffic would be heaviest. There would likely be automobile traffic for people coming to work at the center, as opposed to the AM and PM peaks that you typically get with residential development, when people are leaving in the morning and coming home in the afternoon and the evening. So it's hard to give you a solid figure.
Understood.
But that's just one example of what could potentially be there. For commercial uses, there's a number of by right commercial uses, including a garden center, a general restaurant, automobile repair services, construction sales and service, equipment sales and rental. There's a lot of things that could be by right that's more of a commercial nature.
Sure.
But would be allowed in the I-1 district as well.
Understood. Thank you.
Do you have a question?
No, not yet.
Well, to that point, let's talk about 30 trips, 10 trips per day for 30 houses that are proposed. That's 300 trips. What about the townhomes, 117 townhomes?
And I will defer to the experts in traffic and TIAs for that. I believe it's eight trips a day for townhouses. Is that correct? Or is it less? I think it's 5. 5 trips a day for townhouses, yes. And I bet this is all included in the traffic impact analysis. I'm looking to our folks from Kimley Horn.
Okay. The rest of the questions for the petitioner. We have some other questions. I think the petitioner might be, or his architect would be, and/or both, can probably answer those. Don't go away too far.
I won't.
Thank you, Megan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. My name is Bobby Wampler. I'm with Engineering Concepts. With me this evening is Dale Wilkinson with Stonegate Properties LLC. We also have Aaron Hustis with Kimley Horn, who did the traffic impact analysis. So traffic questions can go to him right past me. It'd be great. And then we'll also have Seth Wilkinson here with Stonegate Properties LLC. So appreciate Megan's summary. It's comprehensive and detailed. I don't think there's really much to add to that. I will just add one thing that wasn't covered that you all are well aware of, that maybe some of the folks here tonight, but this is just the first step in the process. If we're successful with the rezoning, there are many steps with the technical design, many weeks or months of technical review to address road traffic, stormwater, utility usage, the connector road that you asked about, the width. We're showing that as a 50-foot width right of way, so it's not actually trying to represent the pavement. So all those details associated with site distance, turning lanes, we have no option but to meet VDOT standards, to meet DEQ standards, to meet Roanoke County standards. So I'm sure there'll be some questions about that tonight. Be glad to answer any of those that you may have specifically about it. In general, we're pleased that the property, again, I think a lot of the comments we'll hear tonight, they exist on the property today, whether it's traffic, noise. I think we will tend to hear that the folks here would agree that this will be a residential property. I understand the comprehensive plan is industrial, but the nature of the environment surrounded with residential adjacent to Botetourt County, and many of the folks that live in the development that Dale can speak to, that he previously developed. I mean, it's a residential area and would like to keep that character.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, I'm Dale Wilkinson. I own the Wilkinson Group. We're the developer of the project.
Mr. Wilkinson, can you turn the microphone so
Sure.
you can be speaking?
Is that better? Yeah, I live at 185 Park Drive in Roanoke. It is a Botetourt County address. We've been there about 35 years. We've been an active participant in Roanoke County and Botetourt for many, many years in development. And we're here making our argument after having listened to and revising, listened to neighbors and revising our proposals. Attempting to bring something here I think is much needed and is a better use for the property than the current by right use allows. We were the first developer on the Beam family farm. We've known Mike and his family for coming up in 30 years. We've developed many, many homes over in that area from not only the single family detached in the subdivision, but our carriage home development there. And it's an important component of our history in Roanoke and Botetourt County. That was a subdivision that was bifurcated by Roanoke on one side and Botetourt on the other, which was a challenge to begin with. The road sort of split that in half, but it's been a wonderful development, I think, and a lot of families are counting on that area to continue to be residential and not industrial. So with that, I don't want to ramble on. I'm here to answer any questions you may have. And,
We do have some questions.
yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Racker.
Yeah, Mr. Wilkinson,
Yes, sir.
thank you for being an investor. Takes a lot to do that. I'm very familiar with that. Your premise for townhomes versus zero lot line patio homes, what was your thinking process, I guess, in terms of, you mentioned in there about workforce development,
Yes, sir.
housing, and then we also have a need for our aging population needing one-floor living patio homes. Was that an economic decision, or is that, how did you come about that?
Well, if I can clarify something, I think it was a question you had earlier, whether that was patio house development going in Stonegate Phase 3. Those are all single-family detached homes. They're not in the cluster component of zoning. They are all single-family detached homes. It is an economic driver. It's an expensive site to develop the rest of the Beam property. And we're trying to be sensitive to what the market needs are. There'll be no multifamily on this. An R3 would allow for that. We've proffered that they are going to be all single-family homes, be they attached or detached. So yeah, there's an economic driver in that, but it's also market conditions. And I think what's appropriate for that area. The market is telling us what the kind of homes that they want. I personally believe that there needs to be a spectrum of housing, not just for folks that are at the upper end of the residential, but for folks, whether they be policemen or firemen or teachers or many others, they need to have an option to be able to live and contribute in the community. So that played a part in our thinking.
Okay. And then I see you're proffering the elevations of the townhomes. I appreciate that. But, I guess what's more important to me is the bedrooms and the square footage. To me, that's a little more detailed. The elevation, you can change that to beadboard or shake siding, different color stuff like that. I don't want to pin you down to horizontal, siding. I want to give you the flexibility to use those different.
Yes, sir.
There's different styles and everything. But, so what would help me feel a little bit better is you didn't put in there the number of bedrooms or the size.
Yeah.
So, in any way you can help me with that?
Yeah, the original Stonegate homes in Stonegate 1 were 2,250 square feet.
Mm-hmm.
We exceeded that. We did roughly the same on the carriage homes. We haven't assigned a square footage number to this. We've maintained 50% brick and 50% stone throughout the entire Stonegate subdivision. We've not allowed vinyl siding. Those covenants and restrictions are important to maintaining the quality of it. At the same time, the world has changed a little bit, and having hardy plank or drive it or other alternatives to vinyl siding need to be an option. I don't think that the elevations are necessarily a reflection of what we intend to do. It's a minimum threshold. And we've looked and listened to folks in the neighborhood, and they wanted undulation on the way townhomes were laid out, not a flat row of townhouses. So we came back and changed that, broke them up a bit, tried to show different elevations of those townhomes. We tried to congregate the townhomes, single-family attached in the middle of the property, and keep the single-family detached on the perimeter of the property. So we need the flexibility of the materials that we choose, with a minimum threshold being what we've shown you in the plans. None of that is aluminum siding. We don't plan to do that. But we want to be in compliance with our proffers, which are there to have us to be in substantial conformance with those elevations that we've provided. So I think I can speak for other developers in saying this, and I've spoke to other board members that have the same question. And the development community, I think, needs to submit elevations that reflect that minimum standard, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to end up that way. What we don't want is someone to come back and say, wait a minute, you showed us a mansion and now you're doing this over here. And so I think it's important to deal with folks that have done the right thing by their project in the past. And I think just by that very nature, Mr. Ratcliffe, Mr. Radford, I apologize for, just the very nature of the investment that you referred to begin with, suggests that you have to hit a minimum threshold of what that product is going to be offered at. And similar ones in Botetourt at Daleville Town Center are in the $500,000 range.
Right.
I certainly hope that these are not going to be near that. I tell you that the $350,000 to $400,000 range is something that we will be able to offer.
Okay, so square footage wise, you said your townhomes will be around 2,200 square feet?
I said that was Stonegate Phase 1. I would say as a minimum, they'll be 1,500 square feet or so.
So
in the most dense.
You're going to offer 2-bedroom and 3-bedroom?
Sir?
You're going to offer 2-bedroom and 3-bedroom? I'm just thinking of workforce development.
It's awfully hard for somebody making a teacher salary to be able to afford a $400,000 or $500,000 house. What we're trying to provide is an opportunity in a great setting, in a great environment, in a nice neighborhood for those folks to be able to afford that. That may end up being a 1,400 or 1,500 square foot place.
Okay.
But it has the outside detail that you can save some money on the inside.
Okay. And are you going to build these yourself?
Don't know that.
Okay.
Wish I could answer that. Sort of the whole development world is changing a bit where you're needing to stay in your lane. We have built all the vast majority of what's in Stonegate and then the carriage homes. And we have since contracted with Statesman Homes for the 40 some odd lots in Stonegate Phase 3.
Okay.
And with that comes a responsibility as a developer. I've seen them do nice projects and I've seen them do not so nice projects.
Right.
Our responsibility is to act as a developer and provide these utilities and roads and infrastructure that allow them to go in and do what they do well in their lane in selling a product that they can sell at a fair price with a profit. So we may be the builder, but I'm not guaranteeing that.
Okay. Mr. Wampler said, a lot more details need to be worked out, stormwater,
Yes, sir.
Streets, the curb and gutter. I guess you're going to have to do a little bit of curb and gutter.
All of it will have curb and gutter.
And I guess you'll have open space for,
Yes, sir.
looks like you got plenty of room between some of the townhouses. Are they all going to have garages?
Some might. we offered in our elevations, both front entry garage and then townhomes that are accessed from a rear alley. So the rear alleys, just point of reference for you, would not be public, but all the roads will be public roads. I think it can be nice if you can have a little bit of variety of not everybody coming into a front garage and the mouth of the house being the garage. You can do some from the back. I think it's preferable. I think that variety is what makes neighborhoods nice.
Okay. And are you going to have an HOA?
Yes, sir. We
Okay.
will, as we did with both the single-family homes at Stonegate and the carriage homes. We'll have a separate HOA for this.
Okay. You'll have two separate ones?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. That's all I have right now.
A couple more. I heard you reference substantial conformance, and I think the proffer says, excuse me, oh, yeah, it does, says general. And I was
Yeah.
wanting to get the specificity, is it general or substantial?
No, very good. You're exactly right. Thank you, Ms. Hooker, for bringing that up. It's in general conformity.
Okay. And then,
Fro-
the other question, I heard some conversations about trash cans can sometimes be problematic when you have rows of townhouses. And I'm hearing you say with the alleys, that there might be an opportunity for the trash cans to be set out in the alleyway instead of on the street side. Is that
Yes.
correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and I think that's all I have for now, Mr. Chairman.
Well, let me follow up on that. So if
Okay.
we're going to run our one-armed bandits through that alley, it's got to be big enough to handle
Sure.
that trash collection. Okay.
Correct.
Go ahead, Tammy.
Following up with Martha's question on the trash cans and things like that,
Yes, ma'am.
how many units do you have per, what I would say, building? Will it be 5, 10? And what kind of green space is between them?
Yeah, if you can break, I said undulation is the word, kind of going in and out of maybe some, it's not a big flat dimension of 5 or 6 or 10 units. We're showing 5 and 6, I believe, in our plan of units that are moving, if you will. And then you'd have a break in that where we're not building anything. An
Right.
opening where a townhouse would be. Allow stormwater, perhaps as a technical use to pass through there to the curb and gutter, but it's breaking up that mass of housing.
Yes.
All of this still requires a significant engineering effort in order, once we're past zoning, and a significant investment in our, time and efforts to walk through these details of, how the trash is going to be laid out. I will tell you that on things as simple as lighting, we're dark sky people. We put, in our carriage homes, we put in gas lamps. I was just talking to the HOA president of Stonegate who, they've changed some of that around to electrify it. We've gone to a great extent on the details that make our neighborhoods unique. That's why that's how we differentiate ourselves.
And this is just wrapping my head around a
Yes,
few
ma'am.
things. Are these, and I'm looking at the renderings, and some of them look like they might be two level, and some look like they may be 3 level.
Yes.
Is the 1,500 square foot basically 500 per level? Is that what we're looking at?
That's a good question.
Or is
I
that
don't think that- I don't
750
think
for
the
two?
I
See
don't
what I'm
think the
s-
width of it is going to change too much, I think, whether it's a 24 or a 32-foot townhouse. The increase above the 1,400 or 1,500 square feet is going to come on that 3rd floor.
And the reason I'm asking all this, just throwing it out there, I am on a board for a townhome, a subdivision right now, and just trying to figure out, wrap my head around the size to know how big they are, but then also some of the problems we've had with going back to the trash cans and things like that, where
Yes.
people don't want to walk out their back door and have to walk down 6 townhouses in the grass, bring their trash can around 6 more, bring it, for pickup, and then turn around and take it all the way back.
Well, I will
So-
say this, I don't want to pick on Botetourt County, but GFL is the service provider over there for the Roanoke County side. And they have pretty strict rules as to what they'll go and pick up, and the one-armed bandits and, you know, how they interact there with the development. So it's important for people to be able to, you know, get their trash out to the curb and have it picked up on a timely basis. I suspect that will be done in individual units, not in large dumpster containers.
Okay, that's kind of
Yes,
where I
ma'am.
was going with it, was to make
Yes,
sure
ma'am.
that they were going to be accessed for the county pickup and things like
Yes, ma'am.
that. I'm good.
Okay. This is a concept rendering on slide 18 in the presentation. It's got 2-story, looks like it's got 3-story. One on the lower right shows garages.
Front
So
entry.
if someone keeps their trash can in that garage, then they're going to bring it around to the front. Or they're going to put it out on that access road, as you call it, or I should say alleyway is sometimes referred to in the city. I've seen that.
In the covenants and restrictions of the homeowners association for those townhouses, there will be rules as to where you put your trash.
Yeah.
All of the neighbors will want that to be different, I can assure you. And we, as a developer, need to lay that out. And we understand the idea of folks that pick up trash needing to be able to do it in an efficient manner. At the same time, we also understand that neighbors want to go to a minimal effort to put their trash out. So there's a balancing act. On the issue of the front entry of the garage there, I probably didn't convey this well, but in this general conformity, we don't want to come back and say, we now have a 3-story front entry garage where we didn't show you an elevation of it. So we put all of the potential selections there. If you see the townhouses on the upper right slide, those look like they're all back entry access with an alley. And the ones on the bottom right, you know, would be facing the street. They don't show that undulation. They don't show things like dormers that we would put on there. They don't show a change in, or movement, as I call it, in those buildings. So I don't know if I answered your question, but
Well, what's driving this is because on this microscopic final revised concept plan, which I need a pair of binoculars to read, it shows about, I don't know, 3, 6, 9, 12 groupings of about 9 townhouses. That's what's driving this discussion.
well, I think,
So can you
sir,
comment on that, or is this, it's just general conformance, you're going to do something maybe different?
I can't see it from here, which one you're
You
looking at.
you can't see it from here, I can probably see it from here too.
I hear you.
So, you know,
Well,
I
I
wish
can-
we had a bigger copy, maybe we can blow it up on that screen or something.
Well, I can tell you this,
Yeah.
Mr. North, we listened to neighbors that took the time to come to
Right.
these meetings, and we changed how we were laying out the townhouses.
Yeah.
And we tried to have openings in there, but that's at a level of detail. I'm willing to stand before you and proffer the fact that we are going to group these things not in groups of 10. I think most of them actually show groups of 6, but am I?
Yeah, I can't tell.
10s and 8s, all right. now I'm
Looks like
I
they're
see
9.
9, I'm
now
counting
correct.
9.
Okay, they were 20 and they're 10 now.
I mean, so you're willing to proffer groups of 6, is that what I heard?
Well, I'm
you
not
say?
changing the proffers. What I'm.
Well, I heard you say that that's what you were willing to do, and that's why I asked the question.
We are not proposing to change our proffers. I think you're at a level of detail. I admire you for talking about it, thinking about it. We're sticking with the proffers that we offered. When we get to the level of detail of actually putting the building on the site and getting a subdivision plat recorded, it's at a much more intense effort to get to that point. And if that's showing 9 or 10 or 8 or 10, that's the worst that we're going to come up with. They're not going to be 20. So hopefully we get it down to 5 or 6, but I'm not proffering that we would. That make sense?
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not changing the proffer on it.
So these concept renderings, they show about 5 or 6.
I would That would be our goal.
What's the price on single-family homes going to be? 400
Yes, sir.
roughly? And what about their square footage? I don't think I heard that when you were talking. I heard 1,500 for townhouses for square feet.
Yeah, I don't want to do anything to mislead you. We're trying to hit a market in the $350,000 to $400,000 range.
Are they three-bedroom houses, generally speaking, or are they four? Some of
I
them.
can't tell you. I
You
don't
don't
know the
know.
answer to that, sir. Mr. Radford might understand that better than I. He has built many, many of these. And,
You don't know. You don't know yet.
It's difficult to get homes down under $150 a square foot, but a lot of factors go into what the inside, whether you have gold-plated fixtures or whether you have a more modest model to go to emulate yourself after.
Okay. When's the start date? What's your plan? Start in the spring of next year?
Yes, sir. Important.
Roughly.
Important for folks that live in the area to know that there aren't 162 homes that are built in a day, and the market will probably provide for an absorption of around 50 units a year at that location. So it's a 3-year build out. It's fair to say it takes 6 months to get engineering and VDOT out approval and the other approvals that we would need with the Western Virginia Water Authority. So a couple, 2-3 year project to get these homes all built out and sold.
Okay. Anyone else have any questions?
Yeah, I got a couple of follow-up.
Sure.
Okay.
Mr. Wampler, do you know if you have fire flow over there?
I would expect that we do. We have it on Stonegate Phase 3 adjacent to it. This property is in lower elevation. The Water Authority just recently constructed a water line extension down the Sanderson Ridge, so all indications would be our fire flow would be better than Stonegate Phase 3, so yes.
Okay, are you able to loop the water through it?
Well, one of the new Water Authority's goals and standards is that we have to loop when possible.
Okay.
And through the connector road at a minimum, we would be looping at that point. So yes, I would expect probably a loop from Stonegate Phase 3 out to Sanderson down to the Water Authority's.
Okay, and the whole property is gravity sewer?
Most likely, there is a low point, so there is a chance that we get into a condition where there may be a low-pressure pump system on some of the lots. A final design will dictate that, obviously rock and conditions and other things, but certainly our goal would be to gravity everything that we can. And I don't see any reason we can't, but I can't confirm that that wouldn't be an issue.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, that's more details. Thank you for proffering that land to help I believe it's Sanderson to Chadwell. But there's more properties that have to be acquired to make that work. I mean, that's a start to help that traffic situation. I read the report 2 nights ago, read all the comments from the citizens, like 22 comments. They definitely had traffic on their mind. I did see where y'all had a meeting. You responded to those concerns. You lowered your density, which as a developer, that's hard to do. I know from my past. But it's probably going to help the project overall, long term. So I think that's all I have, Mr. North, right now.
Yeah, I've done a lot of reading on this too. And I will just say this, that there is need for workforce housing. I wish that we had our housing study done because I believe that we need more senior family homes. And one day I'm hoping somebody builds some more subdivisions so I can move into one day. Otherwise, I'm staying put at my fort. So is everybody else, because there's no place to go. And with that said, I do think workforce housing is definitely needed. I moved into a condominium over at Ridgewood Farms when I first moved here years ago after being in an apartment for a year. And I just played the game, stayed 5 years, sold it, moved up. So I understand that concern. And that's how the game's played in real estate. Hold on just a second. So I appreciate your consideration of some of these items since we last talked. Tammy, you had something you want to say?
My question actually is for Megan. Looking at, and of course, reading all the comments and things like that back, a lot of the people, and it seems like the biggest heartburn is coming from the traffic. If this property were to stay as is with their zoning, and you mentioned the different types of industrial that could go in there, are we talking that warehouses with 18-wheelers in and out could also
Yes.
be part of the traffic going in and out of there if someone were to come in and build, I don't know, a warehouse for supply, whether it's construction supplies or anything else?
Warehousing and distribution is a use permitted by right in the I-1 Industrial District, yes.
Okay, so by the time the employees come in and out, then you add the 18-wheelers to it.
It all
That-
depends upon how that business operates, but that's a lot different use from single-family detached and townhome development with different peak hours of travel and different types of vehicles coming in and out, yes.
And different noise and different everything
Yes.
else once it's there, surrounded by the residential. Okay.
Yes.
All right, thank you.
With different buffering requirements as well, to be
Yeah,
fair.
we saw that.
Right,
There'd be much more intensive buffering requirements against all those R1 properties.
okay. I just wanted to verify that my mind was going the right
Yes, ma'am.
direction.
Yeah, I've looked at every single one of the comments from the community meeting, and I did my own survey, and most of it was traffic. Most of it was, secondary was density. And traffic's important to those folks around there today, never mind this project. Many of them have told me they don't want tractor trailers in there, so there you go. Which is the least evasive, if you will, other than staying as a farmland, even though it's industrial.
I actually visited the site yesterday
Yeah.
between 5 and 5:30 just to
Yeah,
see what kind of traffic was there.
yeah, how long did it take you to get back?
Honestly, it wasn't bad because I was back at the community meeting by
Yeah, I
5:30.
noticed you were, yeah.
Yeah, I was back at the community meeting by 5:30.
Sure. Yeah, I've been through there before a couple times in the evening, and I got through okay. Maybe I came at the wrong time. I
Well,
don't know
that
what
could have
that
been
time
mine
is.
as well, but
All right, so you have anything else you want to proffer today for us?
No, sir.
You don't? Well,
I
that's,
would like to thank you, though. That was a 400-page report, I know. Spoke with many of you individually, and that was a long thing to have it put together by Megan and Skylar and Mr. Thompson, and I appreciate you all reviewing all of that.
We have good people. We have good staff.
yeah, we don't get the cliff notes, we dive into the whole
We got the
thing.
whole thing.
Okay, anyone else got any more questions?
No, sir.
At this time? All right, with that said, we will go ahead and open the public hearing. We appreciate all who've come to address the board today. When your name is called, please come forward and state your name and your address before sharing your comments. Each person is permitted to speak up to 3 minutes. We have a running clock that I have my eye on there. At the front of the podium is a light system that tells you how much time you have remaining. When the light changes from green to yellow, please share any concluding remarks. When the light changes from yellow to red, your time is ended. While the board desires to hear from all who desire to speak, we ask that speakers refrain from repeating comments that have already been made by one or two people before your chance comes to speak. And so with that said, we have 5 speakers tonight, and we'll go in order of the way the forms are turned in. First speaker is Catherine J. Hatem. I hope I got that correct. If you would come forward. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. My name is Catherine Haddam. You were so close, Mr. North. It's okay. Do
sorry.
appreciate everybody for being here. Obviously, this is a multifaceted issue. I grew up in the area. I am very grateful to members of the board as well as staff who have shared with me some things that I didn't know about this process. I think one of the great things about local government is, as folks have mentioned, they've gone down, they've looked at it. We have folks in the room who have grown up in the area or live in the area now who have firsthand experience of the roads surrounding this proposed development. One thing that I would ask is, in addition to what has been presented in the traffic study, as well as the comments tonight, we also examine the bigger picture of that area in general. One of the things that is problematic, and many people have mentioned in their comments, either writing in or at different meetings, is the traffic. Now, the traffic study was written, VDOT concurs that there will be some impact, but traffic in that area is going to get worse anyway. One of the biggest things that I would say is, before it gets worse anyway, can we do something to make it better before also adding this dense community to make it additionally worse? All of the arteries going in and out of this area are 2-lane roads. Now, while they may not be at capacity, the folks who drive those roads on a daily basis know that they are already, if not dangerous, they have their own concerns. Obviously, Sanderson is a shorter road that runs directly along a railroad track. Cannot expand on that side. Expanding on the other side also has its own challenges. And the proposed left-hand turn lane, we have already heard in other meetings that there is not funding currently for it, and we don't know when or if it is coming at all. So once again, would love to make it better before we make it worse. Additionally, right off of Sanderson, you have 2 of the most dangerous intersections in the county. As I understand, and I've learned from our staff, there were 100 intersections identified in the county that were the most dangerous, and 2 of them are right there in conjunction with each other. That's Shadwell intersecting Hollins, which is directly across the railroad track, and then Shadwell intersecting Sanderson, which is on the other side, directly where this is proposed. Additionally, Old Mountain Road, looking once again at the bigger picture, that branches off and is the option for an additional entrance that would mitigate, quote unquote, some of the traffic concerns, is also a congested road that has at least 1, if not 2, possible new developments going in addition. One of those is between Carlos and then the Roanoke City line that will connect to another development, as well as a possible additional community off of the Ingersoll Park area.
You need to wrap your comments up, please.
Yes, sir. What I would say is I just hope that we can look at the bigger picture. There are many concerns, possibly with green spaces. In accordance to the Roanoke 200 plan, we can work to have space for the community to actually grow. And there are other organizations such as smaller shops, restaurants, et cetera, that could better serve the community in that area. While there is the worst case of a massive traffic hub, there's also a medium case to be made.
Thank you. All right, the next person to speak is Cindy Huber. If you'd please come up, state your name and your address.
Good evening. My name is Cindy Huber. I'm a resident very close to this development. I live at 8246 Hunters Trail. And in addition to the other things that have been brought up, I can't say, I just have to say something about the traffic because I live there and I drive on Old Mountain Road, Shadwell. I go across that railroad track. I go down Sanderson. And there are times when it's very hard to make a turn. Especially what we haven't talked about much is the railroad schedule. And there are trains that come through at least, 3 times a day during the day. They're also coming through at night, and so that's a confounding factor. So again, I would say please do something about the road before you add all these additional homes. I did want to address the dark sky thing, since apparently that hasn't been talked about much. We like living out there where we don't have a whole bunch of streetlights. In our neighborhood, we don't have streetlights up where I live at the end of Hunter's Trail. And, you know, sure, we look down the valley and we see lights, but I would hope that this development would do what they said and put in the kind of streetlights that are not, you know, that are focusing the light down to the ground, and so that we don't contribute to, you know, brighter skies at night. I know there are safety issues, got to have the lights, but I do live close to Stonegate, and some of those people put on pretty bright lights that just shine, you know, into my yard. So, but anyway, that's another topic. The other concern that I have is, you know, firefighting. And people, you know, do we have enough firefighters to cover, you know, this many new homes? It's not just this development, it's all the other developments that are going in. We all of a sudden, we knew it would happen someday, but it's like happening, it's happening all at once now. So I would just ask that you consider that. I think the density is still too high. I would still contend with the things we've heard this evening, that they haven't really considered yet adequate green space in between those buildings, and so I wish that the number was even lower than what it is right now. I think it's too many townhomes. And also the elevations we've seen, I wonder how tall those really are. How tall is a 3-story building to the peak there? It seems awfully high to me, just from living in the area and for everything else that's around there. So thank you very much for the opportunity to speak my mind a little bit.
Thank you. Next speaker is Fred Huber. Please state your name and your address, please.
Fred Huber, 8246 Hunters Trail, same as the woman before me, and I'm probably going to say similar things. We did not coordinate this beforehand. We lived up there for 32 years, and we've seen the developments occur all around the mountain there, and now they're narrowing down on us. And, you know, that's not a bad thing. We live in a place that was a apple orchard in the old days, and now it's, you know, a development. So I get that. People have to live somewhere. The density is way too much for the neighborhood and for the area. We do need houses. I'm getting older too. I'm with you. We need affordable houses for people. Everything that people are pumping out now seem to be, you know, luxury apartments and all these grandiose things which a lot of people can't afford. At a minimum, I would say the townhouses shouldn't exceed 2 stories, and I would prefer to see the property be all patio homes and that kind of thing. That would be more appropriate for the area, and it would be more useful for the people that need that kind of thing. But at a minimum, it shouldn't go over 2 stories. You know, we're going to lose the views of the mountain and some of the character of the area, which would be a shame. The traffic, I'm not going to mention keep what they say, but driving that road all the time, a lot of people have gotten in the habit of really not using the stop signs. They come down Sanderson, they may take a quick look, and they just treat it as a little chicane. They go through there and then zoom down Hollins Road. It's very dangerous. I don't know how many accidents have been there, but it's bad, and it's only getting worse with more development and more people using that. I wish they'd go down Reed Mountain and come down Williamson, but they don't. Oh, I got a whole minute to go. But I won't do it if I don't have to. Yeah, I've not been to one of these meetings before. I've never dealt with any of you kind of folks. Well, you know, developers and real estate people and that kind of thing. I just lost my train of thought. It seemed in the discussions that I heard, maybe I'm not supposed to comment it, there still seems to be a heck of a lot of vagueness about this when people say, what's the elevation going to look like? Well, it could look like this, but I'm not going to guarantee it. And there just seems a lot of, you know, we're commenting on something that's a moving target, and we don't know what it's going to look like. Early on, I can't remember if it was ever answered, but somebody asked about the square footage on the patio homes, and next thing they're talking about Stonegate and gas lamps and this and that. Well, that's fine, but the folks that supposedly this is geared toward can't afford gas lamps and all that sort of thing. So it seemed like you asked a number of questions that never got answered. So I'd like to see something a little more concrete. And I suspect that the initial density was put out there just to scare everybody, and then the full intention was to back off to another level so that people are, oh, great, it's not going to be this, it'll be this. It's too high. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, next speaker is James Norris. Mr. Norris, if you state your name for the record and your address, please.
Good evening. My name is James Norris, 452 Richardson Drive in Botetourt County, right over Sanderson. Get straight cut to the chase. My concern is that intersection, as other people alluded to, that is a dangerous intersection at times, and the way traffic comes through, where you have three roads basically converging coming northbound into Botetourt County, and they all Sanderson, they all come onto Sanderson from down Shadwell from both sides and Hollins Road, and it seems to me like we're putting the cart before the horse in this case, because they alluded to they're going to put a left turn lane there, but they haven't acquired the land at the right there all the way to the end of the road, so the people that own land may not be agreeable to allow them to put that. Also, the intersection, the only way we're going to fix that intersection, in my opinion, is to put elaborate and properly expensive traffic signals there, you know. We've had to be on both sides of the track so people would get trapped on the track. And I don't have too much more to say because prior speakers have covered mostly everything I want to say anyway. So that's my thoughts. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Next speaker, Dale Brown. Mr. Brown, if you state your name and address for the record, please.
Good evening. I'm Dale Brown, 430 Stone Ledge Drive, Roanoke, and I'm here representing Stonegate Homeowners Association Board of Directors and our property owners. And many of the things that I have has already been discussed. And let's just say we're not opposed to this land being rezoned residential. Our concern is the R3. As you saw in one of the presentation slides from staff, everything around it is R1. And if this development was more in the character of an Altamira, Sanderson Ridge, something like that, which are primarily patio homes, we'd have no objection to that. But we do object to the R3. As the gentleman before said, plans are still pretty vague. Plans seem to get changed sometimes, which we're concerned about. And we would like to see it built more in accordance with what's there. The traffic is a big concern. And listening at the last two Planning Commission meetings, the TIA, I can tell you that our board totally agrees with the wait times that were presented, and we do realize those wait times were with the improvements, which are not funded or planned. That was a concept plan. It is not unusual to set it at Sanderson, trying to make a turn left or right 3 to 5 minutes. And the problem is the volume of traffic on Shadwell is so great. You've got people coming up Old Mountain, which becomes Shadwell. You've got people coming up Shadwell from Route 11. You've got them coming up Hollins Road. And many of them are trying to turn onto Sanderson. So because of the traffic on Shadwell, you can't get out. And if somebody wants to make a left turn, all the rest of us behind it, we have to sit there. So traffic is a problem. And one thing we're asking is if you approve this development, that there be more than a concept plan and a plan for funding before this project is completed. We suffer through it every day. The ones of you that don't live out there or drive through, you have no idea. We have the very same thing on the other end where you come out at Cloverdale Post Office, that's Botetourt County. We do have a turn lane there. but the volume of cut-through traffic on Reed Mountain is about as bad as it is on Shadwell right now. So that's our concern, is the R3 and the intersection of Shadwell and Sanderson. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anyone else didn't sign up that wishes to speak? That being the case, we will close the public hearing and we will take a 5-minute restroom break. Thank you. Original plans called for 225 homes, and now the density has been reduced to 147 homes in Roanoke County, 30 single-family and 117 townhomes. At the community meetings, we heard, we read that transportation and density were the dominant concerns. Currently, this land is zoned industrial, has been for 30-plus years, and would be a concern to many citizens should industry develop. In fact, people called me over the last several years when rumors were that there was going to be some type of industry coming in, which was news to me, and their concern was, we don't want to see certain type of facilities like a truck maintenance facility there or tractor trailers, which are definitely a concern on Old Mountain Road. In fact, there's even a sign on Old Mountain Road that says no through truck traffic.
There used to be, it's gone.
With this new concept plan, the petitioner has offered some proffers, both addressing traffic and density. Traffic impact would be reduced from 225 units and 2,000 trips per day down to 1,600 trips for this area and a 14% reduction. Housing density would be reduced by 28% from the original plan. While only 30 single-family homes are provided, entry-level townhomes will provide needed housing for workforce development folks entering the housing market in this area. For example, the county was lucky to retain Wells Fargo's 1,600 jobs, and there are going to be another 1,100 new people that will be working at Wells Fargo over the next 2 years. When I first moved to Roanoke in 1983, I was lucky to rent an apartment for a year to figure out where I wanted to go. And a lovely realtor took me around, and we found a place, and it was a small one-bedroom condo over at Ridgewood Farms, and it was quite a nice bachelor's pad, if you might know that at the time. And it only cost me $49,000. I had to scrape together some monies to put that down payment down, but that was when I was able to gain equity in 5 years after I got married, and then we bought a home. And then we built a home. 4 years later, I got transferred. We never moved into the house. I was single, and I wasn't making a lot of money at that time, and so I appreciated having someplace I could go to because I was scared I never would get in the housing market. And so I see this as an opportunity for people like me who need to get into a home for the first time. In fact, someone walked up the other day while at the Virginia Blue Ridge meeting saying, "Can you find my son a home?" He's a police officer in Roanoke County. He's living at home, saving a lot of money for down payment, and Tammy and I both knew the lady, and of course, Tammy's going to probably help try to find a home for this young man. This is what we have today. We have a need for housing in Roanoke County. If we don't have the right housing, they're going to go to adjoining counties, or they're going to get an apartment and stay there for a long time. And so this is an opportunity for workforce development. Now, would I like to see all retirement villas, patios, whatever? Sure, yeah, I'd love to see that. But, someone hadn't gotten that attention yet in the world of the developers. And I'd hope that housing study we do points in that direction, because I do believe that there is a demand, and I think people would buy them at quite a commanding price, I might add. But today, this is what we have. Our schools in this district, and I heard some of these comments too, oh, there's not enough capacity, the schools won't be able to handle all these people. I got news for you. We have done a study of late, and it shows that Mountain View Elementary School has 38% more capacity. Northside Middle School has 32% capacity, and Northside High School, 18%, but as the population of students begins to level off in the next 5 years, there's going to be plenty of room there too. Lastly, I just want to mention that surrounding home values would be negatively impacted. I've heard that. That is not the case. Assessments are based upon the value of your neighborhood and the streets in your neighborhood, not your adjoining properties. And for example, if a house sells for $600,000, and that is the highest price sold in the last few years, you're likely going to get reassessed, even if you live next door or up the street or down the street. That's just the way it works, folks. Home values are determined each year based on home sales in like neighborhoods. Bear with me a minute. I got all these papers up here. So therefore, I find that the proposed rezoning request is inconsistent with the future land use designation principal industrial included in the county's adopted comprehensive plan, but the proposed residential use is in line with adjacent properties currently zoned for residential use and will assist with the current need for available housing in Roanoke County. It is good zoning practice and will not result in substantial detriment to the community. And let me just back up a minute and address the traffic issue. Roanoke County is going to put in its budget for 2026 in the capital improvement plan funds for the left turn lane. Therefore, I move that we approve the rezoning request that has been requested with the following four proffered conditions. The property shall be developed in general conformance with the concept plan showing a maximum of 147 lots entitled Beam Property, Botetourt County, Virginia rezoning concept, prepared by Engineering Concepts, Inc., dated September 24, 2024, subject to any changes required during the comprehensive site plan review process. B, the residential dwelling units shall be constructed in general conformance to the elevation examples for townhouses and detached homes provided by the applicant as part of the rezoning application titled Townhome Example Elevations dated 9/24/24. A road shall be constructed to connect to the road public right-of-way in Stonegate Phase 3 as shown in the concept plan entitled Beam Property, Botetourt County, Virginia, rezoning concept, prepared by Engineering Concepts, Inc., dated 9/24/24. Construction of this road shall begin upon the issuance of the 110th building permit for the lots in the development. D, right-of-way along Sanderson Drive shall be dedicated to the Roanoke County Board of Supervisors, as shown on the concept plan entitled Sanderson Drive and Shadwell Drive left turn lane, prepared by Roanoke County Department of Planning, dated 7/9/24 for intersection improvements at Sanderson Drive and Shadwell Drive. The right-of-way dedication shall take place upon execution of the subdivision plot. This being the motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion on the motion from anyone on the board?
Yeah.
Mr. Radford.
Yeah, Mr. Chair. Just want to, add a few more comments. They're going to ask me to vote first anyway. I appreciate that comment about us doing something about it in 2026 capital.
It'll be in the July 1 next year's plan, yeah.
Okay.
FY26.
And that's great to hear that, I understand the left-hand turn is not going to solve the problem, but it's going to be
Right.
a nice stacking area so the right-hand turn can be made. One thing that we don't ever want to do is hold our land hostage for traffic when we can see a solution down the road. So I think that's going to be helpful. Just a few comments that I heard by during the public hearing about the lighting, for example. So I heard the petitioner talk about dark sky. That means your lights are fully. I'm getting a sign to turn my microphone on. Thank you. I'm not going to start over. Anyway,
we heard you.
Those lights are full cutoff, so the light does not go up in the sky. So anybody above the project will be able to still have that darkness. The height of the townhouses, they're in compliance, what I saw on the elevation, they're in compliance to the height that we can build single-family houses. So I don't see that being an issue. The elevation that I heard from the petitioner is a minimum standard, so they can improve upon that greatly. So that gives us sort of a foundation to start with. I heard that the width of them are anywhere between 24 feet and 32 feet wide. To me, that's adequate for a price variation between the two sizes. whether it's a 2-bedroom or 3-bedroom. So I think a lot of the items have been checked off on my list. I think it's a good addition, as long as we try to help that area with the traffic. So, excuse me for adding more discussion to the motion, but I'm done. I'll turn my mic off now.
Thank you for your commentary. Anyone else got any commentary before we get that second motion?
I got the
You
second
made the
motion.
second motion, okay. Any discussion on the motion? Okay. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Radford,
Yes.
Mrs. Hooker,
Yes.
Mrs. Shepherd,
Yes.
Mr. North.
Yes. Moving on to item N, citizens' comments and communications. Do we have any additional people signed up for comments? Okay. If not, we'll move on to item O, reports and inquiries of board members. Mr. Radford.
Yeah, just real short. Enjoyed the group from Poland, Poland. Got to have dinner with them at Roanoke College President's house that night. Just being in government, it was nice talking to somebody international about their government and our government, so I learned quite a few things about Poland. They are a republic. They have a constitution similar to us, but they operate a little differently. I found out that their board of supervisors, similar to us, they have 25. And so I asked them, how did they get anything done? They said, we have a lot of discussions. So I appreciate greeting those four, and then the fifth one was a translator and part of the economic development. But enjoyed that group. Look forward to maybe trying to get over there when we plan the trip back to Opola. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Mr. Shepherd.
I don't have a whole lot for tonight, other than I was really excited to be invited to the governor's press conference this week at the Police Academy, talking about what a success the ceasefire and the Bold Blue Line is for our police officers. And then we had a community meeting in Bonsack this week. And first of all, I want to thank all the staff for your hard work for it, because it does not go unnoticed. And I know you put a lot of hours into it. And then you come out in the evening on your own personal time, and I really do appreciate that. So thank you. But it was, both of those were the highlights of my week, the last 2 weeks. And again, I'm really excited for the community meeting and the Police Academy ceasefire and Bold Blue Line that Governor Youngkin has done, and the success of it. And that's all I've got.
Thank you, Ms. Hooker.
So just one quick comment regarding voting. Just a reminder that 2 weeks from today is Election Day, and you have the ability to go and vote early, should you so choose, or do it the conventional way on Election Day, but please vote. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Just going over a few things last week. Attended on October 10th Waldron Park for their food truck in the park, and it was a very large turnout, to say the least. They've done a great job in Parks and Rec marketing that throughout the area there at Hollins, where Waldron Park is located. Many businesses, folks were coming over there. It was quite busy. Food was pretty good too, and it was a perfect day. Staff did a great job putting out picnic tables. So every time they have one of these, it's adding a little value, and things are even improving. So kudos go out to Parks and Rec. October 15th, I attended the VA DEP Economic Seminar in partnership with the Roanoke Regional Partnership to discuss future knowledge of the work ecosystem in the Roanoke region. Also later that day, attended the Williamson Road Area Business October meeting, where I heard Dr. Robert Sandel speak as to the state of the Virginia Western Community College. I think he will be retiring at the end of this year, well, the end of next year on June 30th. So we'll miss him, because he's been there ever since it opened. Toured Double Envelope with the economic team, a manufacturing plant in Hollins. And I'll tell you this, after you go through that tour, you'll never lick another envelope. So I would encourage you to find some other way to get that envelope sealed besides licking them. And then we went to see Elbit across the street there and had a nice visit with those folks. Seriously, I'm telling you. Of note, the state of Virginia exceeded the forecast by 9% since July 1st this year. They've got a $601.4 million they got to do something with, so we're going to run down there and see if we can't get $3 million of it for the CTE. And then last night, Supervisor Shepherd and I had about 45 attend the Bonsack Orchards community meeting. That was largely done through online advertisement, and it didn't cost a lot of postage, and we had some great questions, and staff did a great job as usual. We've got a template for the future. We've got swag, and we have momentum. Isn't that right, Madeline? So I want to thank staff for all of that, and Madeline and I and Tammy have talked about what's next. And that's all I have this evening. And so item P, adjournment. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Clerk, call the roll.
Mr. Radford?
Yes.
Mrs. Hooker?
Yes.
Mrs. Shepherd?
Yes.
Mr. North?
Yes. Stand adjourned.